Have you ever felt a profound seismic shift within your very being? A spiritual earthquake that rearranges the entire landscape of your soul? And have you noticed, with a growing sense of bewilderment, and perhaps even pain, that as you begin this sacred journey of transformation, the real, irreversible, kinda strange and unsettling tension begins to build with the people around you? It's not a loud declaration of war, of course. It's far more subtle, more insidious than that. It's the disguised venom in their jokes, the hollow echo in the sudden silences when you speak your newfound truth, the look of feigned concern that feels more like a judgment than a gesture of love. They don't speak openly of their discomfort, for they themselves may not understand its source. Instead, they offer you advice that feels like a cage, concern that feels like a leash, attempting to gently, lovingly, pull you back to the person they were comfortable with, the predictable version of you that never challenged their own slumber. If you have ever felt this sting of solitude in the very moment of your greatest awakening, know that you are not alone. This experience is not a sign of your madness, but a testament to your courage. It is a divine signal that your frequency is rising, that your light is beginning to shine so brightly it disrupts the comfortable shadows where others reside. You have found a channel that speaks your soul's language. If this message resonates deep within you, if you feel that pull of recognition, let us know by liking this video, subscribing for more guidance, and sharing your own story in the comments. Write, "I am not alone," or 777 to connect with the others on this path, because the journey you are on is a sacred one, and it is a path that has been walked by the strongest souls throughout history. What is truly happening in these moments of social friction is a fundamental law of energy, a universal truth that Nietzsche understood with terrifying clarity. Deep down, the simple, unvarnished truth is this: your mental and spiritual evolution is a direct threat to their comfort zone. Your awakening acts as a divine mirror, and no one who is content in their sleep enjoys being forced to confront their own complacency. When you begin to forge your own path, you are not just walking away from your old self. You are walking away from the collective agreement that keeps the world in a state of suspended animation. You become a living, breathing testament to a reality they have been taught to fear or deny. And so, the resistance you feel is the energetic pushback of a system designed to maintain equilibrium, a system that thrives on predictability and recoils from the authentic, the unique, and the truly powerful. Perhaps you are navigating this very tempest right now. You have started to question the unquestionable, to see the invisible cages you once accepted as shelter. You've started to think differently, to act in alignment with a deeper inner knowing, to question the foundational beliefs you once accepted without a second thought, without a flicker of doubt. And with this newfound clarity, a profound sense of isolation has descended. Suddenly, you feel utterly alone, profoundly misunderstood, and judged not for your flaws, but for your emerging strengths. What nobody told you, what the world conveniently forgets to mention, is that this agonizing solitude is the sacred price of building a strong mind. This is the initiation. And what Nietzsche, the great surgeon of the human soul, understood better than anyone else, is that the strength you are building is not just any kind of strength. It is not the brittle hardness of a closed-off heart, but the resilient, unshakable power of a soul that has faced the abyss and chosen to build a lighthouse there. It is a strength so intense, so real, so saturated with divine light, that it cannot help but make others uncomfortable. It scares them. Your very presence, without uttering a single word, exposes the weakness of those who still live on autopilot, who navigate their lives through borrowed maps and inherited beliefs. It reveals the fragility of a world built on illusion. But we must ask, why does this happen? Why is the path to the higher self so fraught with the friction of the collective? Because a truly powerful mind, a soul that is sovereign and self-defined, is a direct threat to collective mediocrity. It is a rebellion against the unwritten laws of the herd. And Nietzsche was devastatingly clear about this profound truth. When you make the divine decision to think for yourself, to journey inward and create your own values from the raw material of your own experience, and to courageously abandon the comfortable, ready-made truths that society offers like sweet-tasting poison. You become dangerous. You become dangerous to the system that thrives on conformity. You become dangerous to others who have built their identities on the shifting sands of external validation. And most importantly, you become dangerous to the ghost of your former self, the part of you that was content to remain small, to stay safe, to never question. This video, this message, is a divine call to arms. It is a challenge. It is not made for those who are comfortable in their sleep, nor is it for those who seek easy answers and spiritual platitudes. It is not a gentle lullaby. It is a trumpet blast for the soul on the verge of a breakthrough. This is made for you, the one who is tired of being a hostage to your own insecurities and the silent expectations of others. It is for you, who feels the tectonic plates of your inner world shifting, who stands on the brink of an internal rupture, and who is, despite the fear, ready to build something that no one can destroy. You are here to forge a mind that no one can manipulate, a spirit that no one can break, a mind that terrifies the forces of mediocrity precisely because it does not bend to their will. It does not seek their approval. It stands on its own authority. So, if you feel the resonance of this call deep in your bones, if you feel ready for this path, a lonely, tough, but absolutely transformative path, then stay. Stay with us. Because what the wisdom of Nietzsche has to teach you will confront you. It will challenge you. It will strip you down to your very essence. But it can also, and it will, set you free. And after you have integrated this truth, after you have walked through this fire, you will never, ever think the same way again. Nietzsche was not just a philosopher in the academic sense. He was a surgeon of the human soul, a fearless explorer of the inner cosmos. He was someone who possessed the divine courage not just to look into the terrifying abyss of existence, but to dive into it headfirst, without a safety net. And it is precisely in that abyss, in that swirling inner chaos that so many people spend their entire lives avoiding, that he discovered the source of all true and lasting strength. Because for Nietzsche, the great alchemical transformation of the human spirit does not happen in moments of peace, stability, or predictable order. It is not born in the tranquil gardens of comfort. It is forged in pain. It is discovered in the fall. It is born in the heart of chaos. He famously wrote, "You need to have chaos inside you to give birth to a dancing star." This is not a mere poetic metaphor. It is a profound psychological and spiritual diagnosis. It means that if you truly desire to build an unshakable mind, a fortress of the soul, you must abandon the childish, desperate idea that this will happen through comfort, through cheap motivation, or through the hollow repetition of positive affirmations. No, true strength, the kind that can withstand the storms of life, is born only when you face suffering without fleeing. It is born when you stop begging life to be easier and you start praying to your higher self to become stronger. Think of the times in your own life when you grew the most. Was it when everything was fine, when the seas were calm and the path was clear? Or was it when you were shattered, lost, and utterly directionless? Was it not in those moments of profound crisis, when you had no choice but to rebuild yourself with your own two hands, piece by agonizing piece, that you discovered a strength you never knew you possessed? Nietzsche believed that suffering was not a mistake of existence, but rather its main driving force, the very engine of evolution. He did not romanticize pain. He faced it as a tool, as the divine sculptor's chisel that chips away everything that is not you, revealing the masterpiece that has been hidden underneath all along. And if you can fundamentally change your relationship with pain, with failure, with loneliness, if you can learn to see them not as punishments, but as sacred invitations to go deeper, you begin to shape something rare, something precious, an indomitable spirit. And it is precisely there, in that crucible of self-creation, that the world begins to be disturbed by you. Because while most people flee from chaos, you will learn to walk within it. While others beg for the comfort of normality, you will begin to create greatness from the very fabric of your challenges. But this transformation requires a brutal, decisive break with everything you were ever taught about what it means to be strong. Being strong is not about smiling all the time. It is not about having a fake, impenetrable emotional control that denies your own humanity. True, divine strength is the capacity to endure the unbearable, to walk through hell with your head held high, and to come out on the other side, not broken, but forged anew. Even more dangerous to the old paradigm than you were before. But Nietzsche knew that chaos, by itself, is not enough. You can be utterly destroyed by it if you do not have an inner center, a spiritual anchor. And that is why, in the next part of our journey together, we will talk about the most decisive, the most terrifying, and the most liberating moment in all of Nietzschean philosophy. The moment when he metaphorically kills God, and in doing so, places upon your shoulders the full, crushing, and glorious weight of existential responsibility. Because when there is no longer a sky to look up to for answers, it is within you that the entire universe needs to be born. When Nietzsche famously declared, "God is dead," he was not celebrating an act of atheistic rebellion. He was issuing a profound warning, a spiritual prophecy that many still do not understand today. What he killed was not a divine figure in itself. He killed the illusion that there is a higher authority taking care of everything for you. The illusion that there is a pre-established plan, a pre-established meaning, a purpose given to you by someone or something from the outside. The death of God is the end of any and all excuses. And that is terrifying, because until that moment of realization, it was easy to outsource the responsibility for your life. It was comforting to believe that everything has a reason, that suffering is merely a part of a divine plan you cannot see, that there is a greater good that will magically justify everything in the end. Nietzsche violently tears this comforting veil away. He looks you directly in the face and says, "You are alone. There is no ready-made meaning now. You are the creator." And this is where the true construction of a powerful mind begins. Because most people collapse when they realize they are truly alone in the face of chaos, without a manual, without guarantees, with no one to blame and no one to save them. But those who have the courage to face this existential void without crumbling, they begin to forge an unshakable consciousness. With the death of God, Nietzsche pushes you into the abyss of radical freedom. You should not follow commandments. You must create values. You should not obey. You must surpass yourself. It is the birth of brutal, beautiful autonomy. And along with it comes the weight. Everything now depends on you. There is no more absolution. There is no more salvation. Either you build yourself or you sink. But here is the secret that unlocks it all. This freedom that frightens you so deeply is also the greatest source of power you can ever have. When you truly understand that no one will come to save you, something within you awakens a fire, a divine fire that compels you to rise, even while bleeding. That fire forces you to think for yourself, to feel for yourself, to act, not because someone said it is right, but because you have decided it is. It is in this rupture, with all existential crutches, that Nietzsche prepares the ground for something even more grandiose, the emergence of a new way of being, a type of human being who does not live according to the rules of the herd, who does not need approval or permission, a being who creates their own morality, who surpasses their own limits, and who lives as a creator, a being that frightens the weak precisely because it forces them to see themselves as they truly are. This being has a name. Nietzsche called it the Übermensch, the overman, the higher self. And it is about him, about this potential within you, that we must now speak. Because if you want to build a mind so strong that no one can break it, you need to understand how to become this figure who lives above conventions, guided only by their own will to power. Nietzsche did not believe in the slow and passive evolution of humanity. He believed in rupture, in radical transformation, in creative destruction. And that is why he conceived the idea of the Übermensch, the overman. This is not about a superhero. It is not someone with mystical powers. The Übermensch is a being who has overcome everything that binds the ordinary man. Guilt, obedience, herd morality, the desperate need for acceptance. The Übermensch does not seek to be accepted. He does not ask for permission to exist. He creates his own internal laws and lives by them, even if that puts him against the entire world. And that is exactly why his mind becomes unbreakable, because it is not built on the fragile expectations of others. It does not need external approval to validate itself. It is self-sufficient. It feeds on its own will to power the deep, divine impulse to shape reality in its own image. This is the central point. The Übermensch does not adapt to the world. He imposes meaning on the world. He does not seek comfort. He seeks greatness. He does not ask, "Is this allowed?" He asks, "Is this worthy of me?" And this profound shift in perspective changes everything. Because when you start to see yourself as a creator, not as a servant, the way you think, act, and feel transforms completely. But here lies the problem. Becoming this kind of being requires sacrifice. You will have to kill parts of yourself that still beg for approval. You will have to face the agonizing pain of not belonging. You will have to bear the weight of building your identity from scratch, without guarantees, without pats on the back, without applause from the audience. And most people cannot handle it. They give up before they even start. They run back to the safety of ready-made beliefs, dogmas, and rules that someone else wrote for them. The path to the Übermensch is lonely. And Nietzsche knew this. He himself lived on the margins, misunderstood, called mad, isolated from the very world he was trying to liberate. But it was in that profound isolation that he found his freedom. And this is what you need to understand. The stronger your mind becomes, the further you drift from the masses. The higher you rise, the more you disturb. The construction of the Übermensch is the most brutal and transformative process anyone can face, because it requires you to destroy everything that is not yours. Everything that has been imposed on you by a sick culture, by a society that rewards obedience and punishes authenticity, and only after destroying do you begin to build. But this construction does not happen amidst the crowd. It happens in silence, in withdrawal, in the deep solitude that separates the strong from the weak. And that is exactly why, in the next part, we will dive into the most neglected and most powerful aspect of this journey, the solitude of the strong. Because the truth is that to become unshakable, you will have to learn to walk alone, and few are ready for that. Are you? If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and gives you tools to understand yourself more deeply. The link is in the pinned comment. If there's something that no one ever tells you about the path of mental and spiritual strength, it's this. The stronger you become, the more lonely you feel. And it's not because you isolate yourself by choice. It's because the world starts to not know what to do with you. Nietzsche spoke clearly about this phenomenon. The free spirit, the one who breaks away from common morality, who does not accept easy truths, who thinks for themselves, inevitably distances themselves from the herd. And that distancing hurts. But that pain is necessary, because real growth requires space, and you can't grow while being tied to the expectations of others. Most people live within an invisible herd, where every thought is policed, every action is measured by others' reactions. You've gotten used to walking in a group, thinking like the group, feeling secure because there are people around you. But what Nietzsche proposes is the opposite. He tears you away from that comfort and throws you into the desert. In that desert, there is no applause, no praise, no guide. There's only you, your doubts, your traumas, your fears, your desire to give up. And that's where the real test begins. Because what will most people do? They will run back. They will hide again behind their masks. They will pretend they don't feel that, they don't think that they don't see. But you, if you truly want to become someone that no one can break, will have to stay. You will have to endure the silence that reveals who you really are. Nietzsche said, "The individual must always struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try, you will often feel lonely and sometimes scared. But no price is too high to pay for possessing yourself. That is the essence, the possession of oneself, the rarest and most powerful achievement anyone can attain. Because when you truly possess yourself, no one else can control you. No one else dictates your worth, and no one else can bring you down. But this possession comes with the weight of loneliness. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. You will hear that you are arrogant, strange, distant. They will try to pull you back into the mold. They will call you crazy, cold, insensitive. But that is the price of not being domesticated. It is the price of not needing applause. It is the price of not living as a mirror of others' needs. And here is the raw truth. If you cannot stand loneliness, you are not ready for freedom, because all real freedom comes with abandonment. Abandonment of emotional crutches, of comfortable illusions, of utilitarian friendships. That's why Nietzsche saw solitude as a privilege, a battlefield where the true self finally has space to emerge. But this free mind, this elevated spirit, does not just walk alone. It begins to see what others do not see. And with that comes the second inevitable effect, the confrontation with mediocrity. Because when you start to become strong, the collective mediocrity feels it, and it reacts. And that is exactly what we will talk about next, the danger of collective mediocrity. Because the world does not pursue those who are the same, it pursues those who dare to stand out. Nietzsche did not fear tyrants, authoritarian leaders, or declared oppressors. What he feared, and denounced with a searing philosophical fury, was the subtle and corrosive power of collective mediocrity. That invisible system that keeps everyone leveled down, that punishes those who dare to think differently, that rewards obedience and disguises cowardice as virtue. True tyranny, according to Nietzsche, does not come from above. It comes from the sides. It comes from the crowd that demands you remain small so that they do not have to grow. And that is exactly what happens when you start to stand out. When your mind becomes sharper, your spirit firmer, your presence more uncomfortable, you begin to disturb. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because you are doing something rare. You are breaking the mold, and society hates those who break molds. Collective mediocrity cannot stand individual brilliance, because that brilliance exposes the darkness of ordinary life. Nietzsche called this the slave morality, a morality built by those who, unable to achieve greatness, decided to invert values. They transformed strength into arrogance, ambition into selfishness, independence into coldness. And with that, they created a moral system that protects the weak and condemns the strong. But make no mistake, it is not out of compassion, it is out of resentment, because the weak do not want to be saved, they want the strong to be destroyed. That is why when you start to liberate yourself, they begin to attack you, sometimes directly, sometimes subtly, with looks of silence, irony. But the message is clear. Go back to the group. You are making us feel small, and you are, unintentionally, just by being who you are. Nietzsche understood that most people live in a state of paralyzing conformity, an existence shaped by fear, guilt, and obedience, and anyone who questions this state is seen as a threat. But do not be fooled. Mediocrity does not attack with force. It attacks with numbers, with consensus, with the weight of repetition. It will try to make you doubt yourself. It will make you think you are wrong for not fitting in. It will use all social resources, from shame to exclusion, to make you lower your head. And it is at this moment that many give up, because they cannot bear to be the strange, the difficult, the arrogant. But Nietzsche would give you another name, necessary. Because while the world revolves around recycled ideas, manufactured desires, and comfortable truths, it is the strong individual who brings the necessary discomfort for something new to be born. Your difference is the spark of transformation, but it is also the target of resistance. Being strong, thinking freely, living autonomously, all of this is an act of war against collective mediocrity. And like any war, it requires preparation. It requires weapons, but not physical weapons, mental weapons. And that is exactly what we will talk about now, in the final part, because there is a very high cost to developing a mind so strong that it frightens. But there is also a reward that no one can take away. In the next part, you will understand the price and the power of being unbreakable. You made it this far. That already sets you apart from the vast majority. Most people would have closed this video at the first provocation. They would have run away at the first sign of discomfort. They would have turned it off the moment they realized this is not content meant to stroke the ego, it's a call to action. A call for those who are ready to let go of the comfortable illusion and face reality with their eyes wide open. Because building a mind so strong that it becomes feared is not just a choice, it's a renunciation. You will lose. You will lose friendships that were based on superficiality. You will lose opportunities that require submission. You will lose the ability to be content with little. But in exchange, you gain something priceless: integrity, clarity, presence. You will begin to notice that most people live in a slumber and that your lucidity is frightening. That your firmness makes others tremble. That your absence is louder than the presence of many. This strength does not come from the outside. It is not taught in self-help books, nor is it earned with ready-made phrases or empty affirmations. It is dug deep within the soul, in the silence of difficult nights, in the choices that no one sees. It is the result of an internal war between who you were and who you are becoming. And this war has no end, because the truly strong are not those who have won. They are those who continue to fight, even when they could already stop. Nietzsche did not want to create followers. He wanted to provoke internal earthquakes. He wanted you to stop crawling for approval, to stop begging for meaning, to stop seeking in ready-made systems what can only be built with blood, sweat, and awareness. He wanted you to become dangerous. Not in a violent sense, but in a rare sense, so rare that your mere existence forces others to look in the mirror and confront what they are avoiding. And now, I want to invite you to do something that will solidify this process. Write in the comments a truth you are tired of hiding, an opinion you are afraid to voice, a thought that makes you feel isolated but that represents who you truly are. This is part of the journey. Claiming your voice, showing your presence, and more than that, declaring that you will no longer bend. And if this video touched you, if something inside you was awakened, don't stop here. The next video is just as important as this one, perhaps even more so. It continues this journey, and if you've made it this far, you know you're not watching just out of curiosity. You are here because something inside you has already begun to change. So, keep going. You are not alone, you are just ahead. And that, my dear, is frightening, but it is also liberating.